Good afternoon. Welcome to the Meltdown. Folks, I really do enjoy reading and understanding why people look at the commodities the way they do. It really does matter to me. I consider a lot of the verbiage that's being set out there, the rhetoric, if you will, to be very self-serving. Now, in my case, it is self-serving. I'm a rare coin and precious metals dealer. I am not so interested in being the biggest bullion dealer in the country. That is not an interest of mine. But understanding the why-tos of rare coins, that is important to me. And trying to explain the reasons why you acquire things that are rare is paramount. Now, I make the analogy all the time about what values have changed over the years. And I mentioned the 1874 Carson City dime a couple of weeks ago. Back in 1975, that was a coin that, according to the retail blue book, you'd have paid about $45 or $50 to own one. Today, you'd pay no less than probably $10,000 to own one. If it was an auction item, you might even have to pay closer to $11,000 or $12,000 to own it. Now, you might say, Brett, I don't need to own a coin that's that rare. I get it. In 1985, if you'd have bought a choice uncirculated 1893 San Francisco Morgan silver dollar, that's considered the granddaddy of the 96 coins that were struck in a Morgan dollar set, that's the one that matters. And a choice BU by today's standard would be Mint State 63. That's a $200,000 coin that you would have paid about 20 grand for back in the day. Now, it matters to me what's going on in the global economy, and it has direct correlation to gold, and I'm going to pull all this together so it makes sense for you. In 2008, prior to the beginning of the recession, the way the government dictates it, personally I thought it started in 07, but that's me, and I'm far less educated than a Ben Bernanke or a Janet Yellen or an Alan Greenspan. But I do understand exactly why we need to do the things we do. And it is important to understand that it is with reason that in 2008, 63% of Americans, before the recession, 66% of Americans participated in the job market, 16 and over. Today it's 63%. Considering there was a time when unemployment in this country was reported at over 10%, claiming the 7% figure headed to 6%, folks, I don't ever think, Michael doesn't think, we can't read anybody who ever thinks we'll have unemployment rates the way that we did when Bill Clinton was our president. Now, that having been said, people are very discouraged in this job market trying to figure out how to get reemployed, go back to work. My concern is that when you get right down to it, the market is absolutely dead. And for the government, the Federal Reserve, two different branches, the Federal Reserve is not part of the U.S. government. The Fed claims that their balance sheet is $4 trillion. That's basically the $85 billion a month that they've been buying mortgage-backed securities on. They're not an asset. It's the government's way of financing the government. And this 0% interest rate bunk that we all keep feeding is worse, because when you look at interest rates at 0% the way the Fed claims, the 10-year Treasury yield is right at 3%. Price of oil's down at $94, so it was probably a better day in the dollar. But when you look at what the value of the dollar is, the fact that the dollar went up, there are 6 currencies that went up with it: the Canadian dollar, the Aussie dollar, the yen, the rupee, the Mexican peso. That's while the XAU is down and gold is rising. Now, I'm doing some reading, and some of the research says that 6 different gold mining companies do not put their cost of production below $1,100 an ounce. Michael and I talk about it pretty often. I think it was Tuesday. Couldn't have been Tuesday. It must have been on Monday when Michael and I shared the thoughts about the bottom being as low as $800. Was that Thursday? Yesterday? No, it was Monday. Yeah. There are analysts out there that will put the cost, the bottom of the crest cycle, the bottom of the market, somewhere in the $600 to $800 range. Folks, if that happens, all of the people who have invested in gold mining shares, those companies are bankrupt. That they stop production. And I can tell you firsthand that back in the early 90s, when the Soviet Union ceased production in platinum mines, what it would take to start those mines up again from a capital outlay standpoint would be tremendous. And ultimately, it would not be an affordable situation. So today, I can tell you that gold was up over 1%. I can tell you that silver was up about 0.5%, and it was actually higher than it is right now. Same with platinum. And ultimately, the price of gold went through $1,240. Now, that's pretty strong considering we were just under $1,200 a couple of weeks ago. Markets trade, they're volatile. Part of the reason that I constantly mention rarity, whether you're buying rare coins or rare currency or rare art or jewelry or anything, the purpose for obtaining it is simple. You buy rare items because they don't care about this volatility. And trust me, all of the conversations of quantitative easing and bond buying, tapering, all of those effects are inflationary. Now, we are not in an inflationary market right now. That's why food and energy have been removed from the equation. But when you get right down to it, a Carson City silver dollar that's nice and uncirculated and trades for a couple of $100 or a couple of $1,000 doesn't care whether the price of silver is $20 or $30 or $40. It's insulated from that volatility. It's the rarity factor that's coming into vogue. Now, before I get off the air, I want Michael to check on my 3 dates of $20 gold pieces, the 79.0, the 84, and the 87 in proof. And he'll get me that information while we're doing the show. But folks, this is that time where we have to consider that Janet Yellen is going to be Ben Bernanke's successor. And it bothers me a great deal that 37% of the unemployed have been out of a job for 6 months or more. That's an important factor to consider. People are scared of being unemployed. And on Saturday, 1.3 million Americans lost their benefit of unemployment. So I look ahead. And as I look ahead, I consider what the grading companies are looking at. Now, I can tell you that offices were opened in Shanghai. That's PCGS. And they've got offices in Paris and Hong Kong, and they continue to get busier. And after 27 years of being in business, they've graded over 27 million coins. Folks, not all coins warrant being authenticated and graded. I looked at a dime today that's dated 1964. The coin has the right weight for the era versus a new coin that's 10% lighter, about 2.2 grams for a new coin versus 2.5 grams for an older coin. But if you look inside of the reeds, you can tell that there is a difference in the color, the makeup of the coin. Was it filled with copper? Was it just the way the coin was oxidized? I don't have the answer, but my advice was to this gentleman was to spend the $50 to join the club, pay for the coin to be graded. He has to do it. I didn't want to take possession of the coin because I didn't want to be accused of switching it out. It's not something I've ever done. But it's from that standpoint that if you bring something up to the gold exchange, we're in the Humble area, I'll be more than happy to look at it, assess it for you, tell you what I think. You can have your coins graded, whether it's at NGC or PCGS. I'll help advise you and guide you, tell you when to buy, when to sell. But folks, this is that time where if you've got a second home, if you've got an extra automobile, jewelry, art, whatever the diversification is of your portfolio, it's the time to grab other types of assets because other asset classes do better in a time of inflation. Now, I certainly am on top of the game and listening to what the government, the Federal Reserve, has to say with regard to tapering. It's a very important factor. Um, Now, I can tell you that the 1879 is, thank you, Michael, is over $75,000 now. The 1884 hasn't budged really, and the 1887 hasn't really budged. These are three important coins. And as we get into the beginning and the middle of next week, these numbers are going to change. I promise. They are exceptionally rare and very desirable. The 79.0 is going to be a $100,000 coin. You mark my words. The 1887 is going to push through 100 and a quarter, maybe as high as 150, 175. Folks, this is the time to own things that are rare and desirable because more people get in as more people get out. And I know that that sounds kind of interesting in and of itself, but I consider a year ago, Amazon hired 50,000 seasonal workers. This calendar year, as of October, Amazon announced 70,000 seasonal workers. And knowing that Federal Express and UPS were overburdened with packages, trust me, there's going to be some serious layoffs because of how fast we get back down to paying our bills after the holidays. I want rare coins because future collectors and investors are going to be cultivated and they're going to want the coins. And I look at investment funds. I consider a couple of very close acquaintances that have started rare coin funds. And you can invest in rare coins without owning the coin. I prefer holding it, touching it, looking at it, flipping it on both sides. I want it in my own safe where normally things are protected. You got to trust your spouse a little bit. Unfortunately, some of us trust them too much. But the truth of the matter is that your diamonds, your jewelry, the items that are close to you, if you're putting them in a bank, you're going beyond what you should do. Banks have closed. Banks have been shut down for weeks at a time. And no, over in Egypt in 2011, it was for a week. And yes, in 2012, it was 2 weeks in Cyprus. And most people are not aware of the fact that when you swipe your card, you pop up on a computer screen somewhere. Somebody is watching your transaction. Silver is very much in demand. It is an industrial metal. It is a monetary commodity. It serves many uses. Folks, owning rare currency, owning things that other people want is more than just a cliche. I look online periodically at what other things are being offered out there, and I see some Giori notes. They're test notes that are produced at the U.S. Mint. And those Giori notes can sell for thousands of dollars, U.S. notes, in small quantities, onesies and twosies. Finding a complete 32-piece sheet is rare. It is very desirable. The grading companies only want to grade up to 16 notes on a half page. So they are very limited into what they'll third-party authenticate and grade. But the notes themselves, if they're on a complete sheet, are worth more than the individual notes. I have a sheet. It's something you should acquire. And so whether you're buying currency that trades for 10, 20, 50, 100,000, more. There's $1 million notes, there's $1 million coins, and there's a lot of them. And there's billions of coins when you look at the entire market. I talk about the 120 plus pieces of modern commemorative silver. I love the older gold. I love older silver, the 144 piece set, which contains a quarter and a dollar, and 142 half dollars. Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco. There's a lot of different ways to do this. And ultimately, there are clients that buy the stopper coins. Those are the ones that are the most key. They're the ones that drive the most demand over time. And from my standpoint, it is absolutely impossible to own every rare coin that you could possibly own. It is so important that when we get right down to it, owning things that other people want is desirable. It's important. Building sets of coins that are heavily circulated, that's smart. It's a smart way to do business. If it's too much to grasp owning a $10,000 coin, then own 20 or 30 or 50 or 100 circulated coins and bring the cost per coin down. A 1938 D Walking Liberty half dollar may not be something that you desire in an uncirculated condition. Maybe the more palatable coin is the one that's $100 that's been circulated. And if you want to own rare coins, then by all means own them. If you need to be guided, let me help you with that. Folks, you can call the store at 281-548-2646. That's 281-548-2646. Hit option 0. You can call from outside of the Houston market. That's 877-705-2646. Again, option 0, you bypass the phone system. It's going to answer when you call in, but hit option 0 and we'll grab the call. You can email me. That's anytime. Brett, B-R-E-T-T, @thegoldexchange.net. I want to be able to answer questions for you. I want it to make sense for you. I want you to understand that there's coins that just missed the grade and coins that just missed the next grade. And as much time as I've spent talking about Joe and his situation, I want to explain it so that it makes sense. The 1881 San Francisco Morgan silver dollar I brought up a couple of weeks ago in Mint State 65 is a coin that sells for under $200 if you just want the NGC or PCGS coin. If you go to the Newman collection, if you own one that belonged to Colonel Green, if you own Pedigree, those coins command huge premiums. The one that I am talking about now was listed for $6,999 online. In the morning, we saw the coin. By the afternoon, the coin was gone. And I'm sure internally the coin was sold by the dealer who owned it. I was encouraged by it. And ultimately, those are the things that matter to me the most down the road. Ultimately, everything makes sense. And if you don't like silver dollars and you rather have half dollars, or you want large cents or half cents, folks, there's a reason to own a little of everything. Being a collector, a collectivestor, is really here. It's from that standpoint you put together the key dates, or you put together a typeset, a date set, different types of coins that will make the most sense over time. It's just prudent. It's just the way to do it. You have a strategy, you implement the strategy, then you take advantage of the strategy. Anyway, I'm going to cut this show short. Got a couple of people that are in the store that I'm just looking forward to talking to. Folks, I never get off air without talking about Texas Children's Hospital, both the Downs Clinic and the Ronald McDonald House. Now, if you've got the ability to put together 20 to 40, maybe 60 meals on any given night, please call 832-824-8600. It's 832-824-8600. The Ronald McDonald House houses family members that are visiting their children throughout the day and night, gives them an opportunity to take a little bit of a respite and have a hot meal. If you can provide the meal, or if you want to provide a tithe or an offering, please talk to Nancy Allen or her staff. The Downs Clinic, my son Jason has mild Downs. He is as healthy as he could be. But folks, the Meyer Center is just south of Texas Children's location at Fannin. Dr. Ostermeyer and her staff would be more than happy to explain different disabilities. If you visit themeltdown.com, you can provide a donation to either organization. The information is anonymous for me, but ultimately, you'll get your receipt for your charitable contribution. I love the doctors, the nurses, and the staff, of course, the volunteers at Texas Children's, throughout the medical center, throughout the country. Children need our love and our protection. Anyway, I appreciate you listening in. I'll probably do a show tomorrow. If Michael's around, he'll upload it at his convenience. I appreciate everything. If you got questions, if you got coins you want me to look at, come by the Gold Exchange. We're in Humble. That's 113 West 1st Street. Please visit themeltdown.com. There's over 500 shows, 400 hours of audio. We're getting close. And so write down questions. I'll be more than happy to answer them for you. Thanks for listening in. Stay warm. It's going to be a cool weekend. Appreciate you listening. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.